Welcome to the Dram Amateur Podcast. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dram Amateur Podcast. I'm your host, Jason. Thank you all so much for joining. Can't believe that we are actually on episode 9 of the Dram Amateur Podcast. Something that happened, or it started as a hobby for me. Back around Amazon Prime Day because I found all this stuff cheap on Prime and I said, I'm going for it, man. We're 9 weeks in, 9 episodes in, and that's pretty exciting. So thanks all for joining. Very much appreciate you. You can find me on Instagram at dram_amateur. If you are on the Instas and don't follow me already, definitely give me a follow. If you are on the Instas and you do follow me, give me a shout. Tell me how you'd like the podcast. All criticism, constructive or not, is welcome. Helps me grow. I appreciate that. If there's something you'd want to hear, some kind of content you'd want to hear, that would be great too. I had a couple people reach out to me recently and share some ideas on content. So I'm not sure if I'm really good with the content that they've asked for, but you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I'm a pretty adventurous guy sometimes, so I'm probably going to give it a shot. But on this episode of the Dram Amateur Podcast, we are going to talk about relationships. So I thought it was a pretty interesting topic. I'll leave it at that. So just a couple, so start off the podcast, just go through some quick notes. First of all, we are a couple weeks into football season. You guys know from previous episodes, I'm a big football guy. My Niners are 2-0. I will take that. Thank you. Go Niners. My fantasy football teams, one of them is 1-1. That team that's 1-1 squeaked out its first victory this week with a gigantic win. I shouldn't say squeak it out. Sorry, that's the other one. Pretty much a big win. I think I scored like 147 points or something ridiculous like that. And then my other fantasy football team squeaked out its first. Hold on, can't remember. Oh no, squeaked out its second victory this week. Okay, whew. The other fantasy football team squeaked out its second victory this week. And I squeaked it out by a score of or a higher point total of 1.3 points. So 1.3 points got me the win. It was not a pretty win. It was like 93.7 to 92.4, I think, or something ridiculous like that. But you know what they say. A win's a win. Work the free agent wire. We'll go from there. I also lost Nick Chubb this week. Thoughts and prayers for Nick Chubb. That injury looked really bad. And man, I just read an article at dinner, and I hope it's not true. I saw a post that there's a artery that runs behind your knee or through your knee, and it was ruptured. And they were saying that because of that, he might have to have his leg amputated. Again, do some research. I just read it tonight. I'm just mentioning it because I read it and it kind of shocked me. So just make sure you do your research before you repeat that. I should probably have done my research before I had mentioned it. Great job, jackass. But yeah, just, prayers for Nick, whether it's that situation or it's just his knee, man. That sucks. I hate to see somebody like that go through that. That's tough, especially the second time. I think he was injured back in 2017 or 2019 as well. So that's really tough. But all the best. And sorry, I'm a little phlegmy tonight. I don't know what the hell's going on. So yeah, football's in full swing. Hope your teams are all doing good. Whoever you root for. Hope your fantasy football teams are doing good. If you play fantasy too, fantasy football season can be tough. It's a love-hate relationship. So all the best to you guys. Went to Orlando last week for work. My CEO was in town and had a couple days with my CEO in town. It was great. Good job presenting and collaborating in that environment. But I had when I was down there, I got done with dinner at about 8:30ish. So I had a little bit of time before I had to head back to the hotel and sleep before I flew out So, if I'm in Orlando, what do? I go hunting. I'll tell you something, man. I'm glad, number one, that I did not drive down. And it's because of the stuff I found, which was just ridiculous. I'm glad, number two, that I have a small suitcase just to carry on. I don't bring a whole bunch of stuff back because I probably would have ended up with a whole bunch back at the house. But I did bring 2 bottles home with me. The first store I stopped at had a tequila. It's a G4 Madero Blanco. Very excited to have it. Never seen one personally in the state of Georgia or Tennessee or Florida for that matter. And I also I've only seen a picture of this online a few times. I know they're out there. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not going to make it some super ridiculously popular bottle. Or hard to find, but it is individually numbered. So I have bottle number 7476 of 10,000, which is pretty cool. I'm a nerd like that. I like that stuff. But pretty interesting. Go look at my Instagram post about it. I did a pretty cool post about it and told you a little bit about what the Madeira is. So extremely happy to have that. That was a pretty cool find. And it's funny because that's the store that I went into that last time I was there. They had the Russell's Reserve single rickhouse. They wanted $3.99 at the time when I was there. I think $3.99. This was back in January. January last year? Yeah, I think it was January last year. Or whenever it was, I did the big hunt. March or April. When I did the big hunt. But yeah, I was not into tequila at that time. So the bottle date on this bottle is 2022. So I think that those bottles were sitting on that shelf the entire time, to be honest with you. It's pretty crazy that nobody's purchased them. But definitely happy to have it. It was a slightly over retail. I think I paid $84.99 for it. I think retail $65 or $70. So a little over retail, but pretty cool to have something in my collection that I don't have. So that was cool. And then I also the other store that I bought my 2 Appleton Estate Heart collections. They had a Habitation Villaire bottling of the Long Pond Jamaican single rum, aged 15 years at the distillery. It was all aged at the distillery, so it's all tropical aging. So 15 years on a tropical aged rum is cool. I got bottle number 11 of 213, so only 213 of these bottles were released, which is pretty cool. And I think that's the reason why I really enjoy rum, is because you find these like harder to find bottles. They're very limited releases. And then you got something really unique that not a lot of people have, that like you can really start to share with people and introduce to them. So this was a great pour. I had it. I'm going to let it open up a little bit. But you definitely got that Jamaican funk on it. And what I really like about it too is it's very different to me than Hampton is. And I love Hampton. You guys all know my love for Hampton, but this is very different. And that's what I like about it. I love the uniqueness of rum depending on the region where it's from. And obviously whether it's sugarcane based or if it's molasses based, there's a lot of things that go into it. But man, this bottle is pretty cool. I was pretty excited to have that. But at that store that I bought the Long Pond, there's so many bottles of things that I could have purchased. It's unreal. I took probably 25 pictures, and I'll have to post them on on Instagram. But they have cases of G4 Blanco. Cases. 1, 2, 3. They have 12 cases sitting on the floor of G4 Blanco, unopened. They have them. They have them on the shelf too. So that's pretty cool. They have Cascanes, number 9 Blanco, 4 cases of it full sitting on the floor, shelves full of it as well. I'm like, that's crazy, man. I know where I can get Cascanes out here. So it's a little less, I don't know, boutique, but it's still hard to find no matter what, even though I know I can go get it at one place and I get it for a good price, but it's still hard to find. So that's pretty cool that they had all that. For rums, they had Moni Musk EMB 2014, which is 8 years. They had the Guyana 1998, which is the La Maison Valère. They had both of those. I am so sorry that my voice is trashed right now. They have a whole bunch of Holmes K as well, which is really cool rum. So they had an Australian one, a Belize one, a Jamaican one, and a Fuji one, which is cool. They had all the Down Island rums. Now, I need to get into the Down Island rum game. Chicago Rum Rambling sent me a couple samples of Down Island rum, and it's pretty freaking good. So that was pretty neat. They had a Black Top Blender's Reserve, which I didn't buy, which I wanted to buy, but I said no, just leave it. They had an Appleton Estate 21 still. They had the I Sautier, both of those. They had those rums too. They had a Black Tot, the bougie Black Tot, which is like $1,000. They had that rum. They had a couple Samarolis. They're independent bottlers of rum. So one was a Barbados one was a Pacific blended one they had. And then in the tequila, they had the Tears of Lauronas. They had all of the Fuente Secas. I mean, they had Fuente Secas from $119 all the way up to $1,449, which is from 1999. Good Lord, I just saw that in that picture. That's insane. They had all of those. They had a whole bunch of El Tesoros. They had a Volans on the shelf. They had the organic Diablito. The list goes on. It had a whole bunch of bougie G4s. The list goes on and on. So I'll have to take a picture. I'll have to post these pictures on Instagram so you guys can see it. But man, it's pretty unbelievable. I mean, the selection of stuff is just unfreaking real. I was texting my friends and texting them pictures, and they're like, "Oh my God, holy jackpot!" I'm like, "This is just one store." And that's the thing. It's like there's so many other stores that I won't lie to you too. There's duds, right? There are stores that you walk into, everything's overpriced. There's nothing on the shelf, or they have nothing special on the shelves. Everything is like in the back. They know secondary pricing, and that's fine, right? If that's what you want to do for a store, that's fine. But you do have your dud stores in Orlando. I'm not going to tell you every store is a honey hole in Orlando. For every one store I went into that I had luck in, I've went to 2 or 3 stores that I had no luck in, right? So it happens. But yeah, so 2 stores, good selection. I told my wife I'm glad, number one, I was flying back and not driving, because I would have probably spent, to be honest with you, I can't even tell you how much I would have spent, because some of these bottles are pretty unique. I wouldn't have bought those high-priced bottles, the $1,000 bottles, but there's some $200 bottles that you just can't find anymore. And I probably would have bought them. So pretty cool to see that. So I think I'll probably end up going down in the winter time at some point and perusing and seeing what they still have in stock and go from there. Where was I going next? Oh God, brain fart. Holy shit. Anyway, yeah, bottles got back okay. I had a sticker on my luggage, by the way, when I got back, because I had to check the bag, obviously, and I had a sticker on my luggage when I picked it up, a little blue sticker. So come to find out, from what I can gather on the internet, if there's a blue sticker on your bag, that means that your bag's been opened by TSA. Nothing was rummaged through, nothing was moved, everything was good, nothing was taken out. So I think they just probably checked it to see what it was. I don't know, but the bottles didn't even look like they were unwrapped either. I wrapped them up in my clothes, obviously, and put them in my suitcase. So I don't know what it was, but they opened it. So nothing was taken. So all good. But yeah, definitely Orlando is my honey hole. In areas around Orlando are my honey hole. There's some ridiculous selections of things. So let's get into today's topic. I'm trying to keep the podcast short today, but let's get into today's topic. Let's talk about relationships. So I had a funny story that happened to me about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I was actually it's probably 3 weeks ago now. I was coming back from meeting Nerds and Burbs from my bottle exchange, and I decided to stop into a few stores on the way home. When I stopped at the last store, I walked in and said hi to the guy that was working. He said hi back. And I perused up and down, as I always do, right? Bourbon aisle, rum aisle, tequila aisle, and then headed out. On the way out, he's at the other side of the counter. So the counter is when you walk in to your left-hand side of the counter, and the door's in the middle of the building. So off to the left is the counter, and it runs the entire length of the building from the door to the edge of the building. So I'm walking out, and he's like, "Did you not find what you're looking for?" I said, "No, I'm all set. I appreciate it." He goes, "Well, what were you looking for?" And I told him, I said, "No," I said, "It's all good." I'm like, "You guys don't have what I'm looking for." I'm like, "Thanks so much though. Have a great rest of your day. I'll come back in." He's like, No. What are you looking for?" And I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm going to start to tell you what I'm looking for." So as I start to tell him what I'm looking for, and I said, "I'm looking for Sambra Valles Joven. Oh, no, I'm looking for rums." Okay. I'm looking for Foursquare and Hampton or any independent bottlings. No. And so by this time, when I'm into the rums and I'm halfway through with the rums, he's walking away from me. And I'm like sitting here going, "Dude, you asked me a question and I said to you, I'm all good. And then you insisted and were inquisitive about what I was looking for. And then I tell you, and you as either a store owner or a worker at that store don't even give me the time of day and the common respect to listen to my answers before you walk away when you ask me the question." I mean, honestly, I was like, "Are you I walked out of there I was just pissed. I wasn't so pissed, right? I was pissed. I'm like, dude, you don't do that to a customer. I sometimes wish I owned my own business so I could treat people with customer service the way that they should be treated, the way every single freaking person should be treated. But I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I'm like, why? And my buddy said to me, he says, "You should have asked him, well, what should I be asking for?" Because there was probably something that he had in the back, probably Blanton's or something like that they don't keep out. He's like, "Oh yeah, I can hook you up. I got a Blanton's, blah, blah, blah." Right. But it's not what I'm looking for. So like, you either say to your customer, "Hey, are you looking for a specific bourbon, perhaps blah, blah, blah," or you don't ask the damn question. I knew you didn't have it. I could tell by your selection. You didn't have any Sambra bottles. You had no Foursquares. You had no Hamptons. You didn't have a Jack Daniel's 12, which I wish I could have. You didn't have it, but I told you I wanted it, and you didn't give a shit. You walked away. So it got me to thinking, right? In this world of hunting, right, of bourbon, of rum, of whatever you're looking for, really, relationships play a key in that hunt, all right? But there's a lot of different types of relationships, and I'm going to talk about the different ones that I see and then talk about the ones that work for me. Now, the first one is your relationship with a store owner, right? In this example, I didn't have a relationship with that store owner. I was just some guy that walked in off the street, was looking for specific things. But at the same time, that store owner obviously didn't want to build a relationship. Maybe I had just moved into the neighborhood that adjacent right to that liquor store, and I buy $5,000 worth of liquor every single day, right? That dude does not know that. You don't. You have to treat that customer like he's your most important customer, right? So to have that approach is just not what I would expect. So to me, that store owner would want to create a relationship. And to be honest with you, if I did live that close to that guy, I would not want to create a relationship. I don't care how close that store is to where I live. There's no way, because the person that you are and the way you treat your customers says a lot to me, and I don't want to do business with you if you're like that. But relationships with store owners or store employees is a big deal. I have friends that have gotten some ridiculous bottles because of relationships with store owners. We always hear that, I want to get a bottle of Weller, or like a Weller or a Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, or a special Four Roses release or something like that, right? And a lot of people have those relationships with their store owners that are local to them, and they frequent in there and they buy from them, and they afford them then the opportunity sometimes to get those bottles, which is great for them. That's awesome. I have never had that level of relationship with a store owner. Now, I will say this though. I do have a relationship with a store owner, but unfortunately, I equate relationships with store owners to your proximity of where you live to that store. Okay. So in my town, I have an example. I have a couple of examples. One of my friends that I know very well has a relationship with a store owner. And he has told me that he's gone in there and the store owner will come out and say, "Hey, are you interested in this bottle?" And he'll show the bottle and he says, "Yes, that's awesome. I'll take it." Or, "No, do you happen to have this?" "Well, no, we don't." "Well, hey, next time if you get one in, can you let me know? Or I'm looking for these things. Keep me posted. Thanks. Bye." So that person has those relationships with those store owners. That's great. I think proximity plays a big game into that. I also think what you're purchasing plays into that. I also think how much you frequent the store plays into that. I also think the way you bond with that store owner plays into that also. I think it's all those three components I think are very important. Now, I have a relationship, as I mentioned, with a store owner, but the difference is with what I just talked about was my proximity. I wouldn't say a very close, right? But I have a lot of mutual respect for a store owner between the two of us, I feel. And his store, unfortunately, is an hour from my house, but I go out and see the store owner as much as I possibly can when my schedule allows. Matter of fact, I was out in that neck of the woods with my family this past weekend. On my way home, I popped in and I saw him, talked to him for 30 minutes. Was great to catch up with him for 30 minutes. I wish I could have stayed longer. I enjoy our interactions. I enjoy our communication. He's a great guy. I enjoy his transparency. That's another thing too. I really appreciate his transparency. And dude, he's a wealth of knowledge, man. I mean, it's really cool to learn from him. I've learned a lot of cool things from him, which is really cool. But yeah, so I bought a couple bottles on Saturday when I saw him, and it was great. And I told him, I said, "I'll see you in a few months or a month or two." I didn't say a few months. I'll see him in October. And he knows that. So he knows, and we stay in touch on Instagram. He knows that, I live a ways away. I do everything I can to get out. But I also told him I ask for special things. I'm like, "Hey, if you can get these two bottles, let me know, order them. Let me know that would be great." So he helps me out. And I think we have a business relationship, whatever. I think we have a mutual respect for each other. We like the same things. And it's pretty cool that, I have that with him. So relationships, again, with store owners, I think can be important, but it's not something you have to lean on. Most of my other purchases that I've ever made have been at stores in Orlando, where I find things that I can't find in Georgia. A lot of my purchases have been made in Tennessee. Again, things I can't find in Georgia. When you stumble across those bottles that you're looking for that are extremely hard to find, then you're going to buy them. And let's be honest, Georgia just doesn't get everything. And maybe you don't know, Georgia doesn't get everything that Florida and Tennessee gets. Tennessee doesn't get everything Florida gets. Florida is like, I learned this weekend from my favorite store and my favorite store owner that Florida gets a lot of the things first before Georgia does, especially when it comes to rum and tequila. So that's why there's a plethora, and the distributor runs the business out of Florida. So everything comes into Florida. The distributor's in Florida. They send everything out with the distributor within Florida first, and then it gets sent out to Georgia or wherever else. So cool to learn that, right? Like I learned a little something about that, and now I understand why when I go to Florida, I see ridiculous things, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, how the hell are these bottles just sitting here? Like literally how they're just sitting here. So it's pretty cool, right? So that's one thing. And back in the day, I'd buy bottles from everywhere. But I'm pretty choosy now where I purchase my bottles. As you guys all know, I don't buy a lot anymore. I'm very picky. I'll buy the hard to find things that I don't see in Georgia, outside of Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida. But if I'm buying something from a store, it's probably going to be from that store and that store owner. I to be honest with you, I mean, I've bought a couple online lately. Recently, the Wild Turkey 12s, which you can't get in a store. Everything else I've purchased in the last couple months, outside of one bottle, I bought one other bottle in Georgia. It's been purchased from that store and that store owner. So, again, I'm loyal to that store, but from my perspective, from a relationship perspective, I'm not close to that store. So I think it's a little tougher for me to really build that relationship that I would love to build. Hell, to be honest with you, if I live close to a dude, I'd work for the dude. I think he's an awesome guy, and I love what he has as a business and a business model as well. So I respect that a lot. The other relationship is through friends and acquaintances. I think when I reflect back on that, right, I think that's probably one of the most powerful relationships. If you think about it from a hunting perspective, right, the more you hunt, the more you have an opportunity to find. It's a numbers game. Listen, the more stores you go see, the more bottles you put eyes on, the more places you go visit, the more miles you travel, the better chance you're going to have of finding a bottle you can't find. So because of that, you sometimes don't have the schedule to be able to do that, or you're searching for bottles that are so hard to find. Well, I wouldn't say so hard, but just getting harder to find. That some additional eyes and people hunting for you would be beneficial. Another one's like the unique stuff, right? So maybe you don't have access to a store that has a store pick that you want to get your hands on. So that's another option. But I think friends plays a really important role. I know through the people that I know, so my two good friends, Michael and Jordan, I have over the years, I have scored some pretty ridiculous bottles that I would not have scored without them. And that's really cool. I mean, if I reflect back on some of those bottles, I'm talking, it's bottles I still have never seen in a store. Jack Daniel's Heritage. I got the bourbon that was released in 2019. I got a Redwood Empire. Oh God, I can't think of the name. Haystack Needle. Still never seen a bottle anywhere, right? So it's really cool to know that. I've got to go out to dinner with them. They have relationships with other people. I've got to go to bourbon dinners with them where I've gotten single barrel bottles of Four Roses. I've gotten single barrel bottles of Old Forester, right? So those types of relationships with your friends is beneficial for not only you, but them as well, right? Because the tighter a group of friends that you have, sometimes they can be in different areas. It doesn't matter. Sometimes you guys all live next door to each other, right? But if those friends are out hunting and they have you in mind when they're hunting, right? They have a list from you, or they know what you like and they hit you up and let you know it's there. Or you do the same thing. I mean, what else can you do? I mean, that's awesome. I've gotten some killer bottles for them. I got Springbank 25 for one of my friends. And that's ridiculous. It's pretty nuts, some of the stuff that you find. So it's really cool And I think it's the most powerful relationship that there is that friendship, right? Because outside of the hunting and the, hey, I found bottles or whatever, you also get to bond over the pours, right? You get to share the pours together. You get to share samples together. You share stories together. I mean, me and my friends, whatever friend group it is, I have Facebook Messenger conversations. I've got text conversations. I've got Instagram conversations. So like, it's really cool that no matter what friends you have, it's a really powerful way to acquire bottles, and I think it's probably the most powerful and probably I think the most rewarding and what's the word I'm looking for? It's like the most it's been listen, y'all. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. But yeah, I think it's the most rewarding relationship because of all the things that you get out of it. You know, I personally, like when I found that Springbank 25 and all the other bottles I found for all them, dude, I'm so happy that I found somebody a bottle that they wanted that they can't find. And I'm the one purchasing it and bringing it to them, dude. That's the coolest feeling, man. And to see the look on their face, like, hell yeah, you know, this is awesome. Can't believe I have this. Like that's awesome. So really cool to be able to do that. I think that's probably I think it is the most valuable relationship. And I think it's probably I think it's the most powerful relationship as well, from a lot of different perspectives. The last one is, and I don't have this relationship, so I'm not going to talk a lot about it. I have some friends that have these relationships, but you have your relationships with, the manufacturer or the distributor, or the maker of whatever you're buying. So for example, maybe you have a relationship with Wild Turkey, right? And because maybe you have a lot of maybe you have a lot of followers on Instagram, so therefore you're an influencer. Maybe because you speak very highly of their product, and therefore they see that you constantly messaging them and tagging them in messages. They see that, and then they offer to start sending you things. So that's another example of a relationship. I see some of the things that people get from these relationships, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll be honest with you. I mean, they get to try some things before they're released. They'll either get sample bottles or they'll get full 750 mils. I'm like, good Lord. But it's cool that, you know, they have those relationships. I have had one opportunity where this happened to me. Middle West Spirits out of Ohio was gracious enough to send me the dark pumpernickel rye and then the straight wheated bourbon, which was great. I really appreciate that from Middle West Spirits. Definitely keeps me then looking for Middle West Spirits products and make me want to try a couple different things because they were pretty good pours. I'll be honest with you. But that was pretty cool to have that. They reached out to me and asked me. I don't know what the hell I did right, but that was pretty cool that just some average Joe Schmo with 1,000 followers, you know, somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, do you want to try this? We'd love to send you some samples or a bottle. So that was pretty cool. But that relationships can be pretty powerful. I know friends that have gotten samples from Barrel. I know friends that have gotten samples from Basil Hayden. I know friends that have gotten samples from other distilleries and other companies that want to share that want to have people help market this stuff, right? So you're an influencer. They see the reels you post, you tag them on things. I don't know if these people reach out to them and say, hey, if you're interested, I'd love to do this for you. Maybe that's the path they take. I am not that ballsy to ask somebody, be like, hey, do you want somebody to send samples to? Because I'd take them. I'm just not that guy. That's not who I am. And there's nothing wrong with that. God, I made that sound really bad. I'm not that guy. No, I didn't mean anything negative by that. That's just not who I am. So I would not do that. So it would be somebody asking me if I wanted to sample their product. But that's cool too, right? You get the ability or the opportunity, to try different things ahead of other people. I mean, some of the release, I'll be honest, I'm a little jealous sometimes. There's some pretty cool things that people get to try. They get this, like the small flask size bottles, like the 100 milliliter bottles, which is cool. And they get to try some things ahead of everybody else. So pretty cool opportunity. Don't know if I'll ever get to that point. I mean, hell, hey, people, listen, I got a podcast, man. I'm 9 episodes in. I'm important. Do I put all the full effort I probably should to on my Instagram page? Yeah. Come on, man. I'm posting all the time. I post reels. Did you see some of the epic reels? Yeah, I've done. Probably seen some duds too. But anyway, I kid. But yeah, so I mean, relationships is another one. So just to kind of recap, and there's probably more than I missed, right? So if I missed something, tell me, right? Hit me up on Instagram. Tell me. Let me know what you think. But yeah, there's definitely, in my opinion, 3 types of relationships. So just to kind of recap, you've got your store owners, you've got your friends, and the acquaintances and relationships that you have with other people outside of a store owner. And then you have your producers, right? Your distributors, your distilleries, your different brands. And maybe you get the opportunity to be a brand ambassador. I mean, hey, Hampton, Foursquare. No, Hampton, you need a brand ambassador? Hook me up. But it's funny, right? Okay, so if I were going to be a brand ambassador to any brand, I'd be Wild Turkey. I'd be Old Forester, Jack Daniels, and man, Hampton. Oh man, Hampton. What else? Appleton Estate, man. I love what Appleton Estate's doing. Foursquare, probably Foursquare as well. I can't knock my Foursquare, and that would probably be it. The funny thing is, I'm probably going to get up and go look at the bottles and go, oh shit, I forgot to mention these people. But I mean, it's still pretty cool, right? It's a cool opportunity. But yeah, I thought it would be pretty kind of cool to share that stuff. I've been thinking about that a little bit since that incident. I thought it'd be kind of cool to share that and share some insights. So all you new people to the spirits chasing game or the alcohol chasing game, you get a little tidbit of what you're in for. And if you're listening to this and you already are part of this game, then you completely understand what I'm talking about. And if there's a different, like I said, if there's a different relationship I didn't think of, or there's something I didn't talk about with one of the relationships that I mentioned, I'd really like to hear about it. I think it'd be pretty cool because there might be something I haven't thought of or experienced yet that would be pretty neat. So, but thanks guys all for listening today. Just totally appreciate it. I'll be honest with you. This is the first time I'm recording on a Wednesday, and I'm going to drop the podcast in the morning. I am with travel last week. I had a full weekend with my kids. It has been hectic. So I have not had a lot of time. So I am racing against the clock to stay on my weekly schedule. I need to record this weekend too, which means I have to have something lined up, and I don't have a topic lined up yet. So here I am screwing up, trying not to screw up. But yeah, it's fun. So again, guys, thanks all for listening. Very much appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll connect next time on the podcast. Reach out to me on Instagram, and good talking with you guys. Have a great rest of your day. This has been the Dram Amateur Podcast.